Husband kicks out wife. 5 years later, she returns by helicopter with triplets who look just like him. Sophia Coleman never imagined that her life would change forever that night, as she put the final touches on her husband, Michael Thompson's birthday surprise. Her phone kept buzzing with messages. Is everything ready for tonight? Does he suspect anything? Read one of the messages that Michael accidentally saw. Who is this man texting you? Michael shouted, throwing the phone towards Sophia, who was in the kitchen preparing dinner. What man? What are you talking about? Sophia picked up the cracked phone from the floor, confused by her husband's outburst. Don't play dumb. I saw the messages. Is everything ready for tonight? Does he suspect anything? Michael repeated mockingly. You're cheating on me, aren't you? Sophia's face paled. That message was from Daniel, her brother-in-law, and Michael's brother, who was helping with the surprise party she'd planned for months. Michael, you've got it all wrong. I can explain. Explain what? That you set up a date with another man on my birthday? Michael interrupted, his face red with anger, veins bulging in his neck. It's not like that. Please, just listen. Listen to more lies. Michael flung open the bedroom door and began tossing Sophia's clothes into a suitcase. I want you out of my house now. Sophia tried to approach, but Michael wouldn't let her. Just then, Barbara, her mother-in-law, walked into the apartment using her emergency key. She lived 2 floors above and had likely heard the shouting. What's going on here? Barbara asked, taking in the chaos. Clothes strewn about, an open suitcase on the bed, and her daughter-in-law in tears. Your perfect daughter-in-law is cheating on me, Michael snapped as he kept throwing Sophia's belongings into the suitcase. Sophia turned to her mother-in-law, hoping she could calm him down. Barbara, please explain to him. You know about the surprise we've been planning. But her mother-in-law's face hardened, and a strange glint appeared in her eyes. Surprise? What surprise? Barbara pretended not to understand, despite knowing every detail of the party Sophia had organized. That's when Sophia realized her mother-in-law had always wanted her gone. In their 3 years of marriage, Barbara had never hidden her. Belief that Sophia was unworthy of her successful son. Now, with this misunderstanding, she saw the perfect opportunity. Son, if you've discovered something, trust your instincts, Barbara said, placing a hand on Michael's shoulder. The Thompson men are no fools. Sophia felt her world crumbling. Just 2 weeks earlier, she'd learned she was pregnant. She'd planned to tell Michael during the surprise party, along with renewing their vows. It would have been the perfect birthday gift. Michael, Sophia hesitated. Should she reveal the pregnancy now in the middle of this mess? But before she could finish, Michael shoved the packed suitcase into the hallway. You have 5 minutes to leave, or I'll call building security. Heartbroken and instinctively, placing a hand on her still flat stomach, Sophia grabbed her purse, some important documents, and left the luxurious Upper East Side apartment in New York City without looking back. As the elevator descended, a decision formed in her mind. If Michael didn't trust her enough to even listen, maybe it was better to go their separate ways. What she didn't know then was that 5 years later, she'd return to New York. No longer the insecure young interior designer who had left, but now a successful businesswoman. And she wouldn't return alone. She'd arrive by helicopter, accompanied by 3 identical boys, triplets who were the exact copy of the father who had never known of their existence. Sophia took a cab and headed to the home of her best friend Jennifer, who lived in Brooklyn. During the ride, 1,000 thoughts raced through her mind. How could Michael have doubted her like that? Why hadn't he given her even a chance to explain? And Barbara, the betrayal of her mother-in-law, who had known about the whole surprise, hurt perhaps more than her husband's distrust. Sophia, my God, what happened? Jennifer asked as she opened the door and saw her friend in tears, holding just one suitcase. Between sobs, Sophia told her everything, the confusion with the messages, Michael's outburst, the silent betrayal of her mother-in-law, and finally, the newly discovered pregnancy. You need to go back and tell him about the baby. This will change everything, Jennifer suggested, pouring chamomile tea to calm her friend. No, Jen, Sophia wiped her tears, determination flashing in her eyes. If he didn't trust me after 3 years together, I don't want him staying with me just because of the baby. Jennifer hugged her friend, respecting her decision, even if she silently disagreed. In the days that followed, Michael tried reaching out several times, but Sophia didn't answer his calls. She needed time to think, to decide what she would do next. Meanwhile, she settled temporarily in Jennifer's guest room. A week after the incident, Sophia finally checked her emails. Among dozens of unread messages, there was one from an old professor from design school, informing her about a job opening at a decor company in Chicago. Maybe this is a sign, Sophia thought. Her new city, a fresh start for her and her baby, far from painful memories and the toxic influence of her ex-mother-in-law. Without a second thought, she replied to the email attaching her portfolio. 2 days later, she received confirmation. The job was hers if she wanted it. The salary wasn't extraordinary, but it would be enough to get by while she built a new life. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now continuing. In the Brooklyn apartment, Sophia packed her suitcase, now bound for Chicago, when her phone rang. It was Daniel, her brother-in-law, worried about her sudden disappearance. Sophia, what's going on? Michael is devastated. He found out about the surprise party and hasn't stopped looking for you. Sophia felt a tightness in her chest. Part of her wanted to run back, tell him about the baby, try again. But another part, more wounded and tired, knew things would never be the same. Daniel, I need time. Tell Michael I'm okay, but I need to think. She hesitated. And don't tell him about the baby. Not yet. Baby? What baby? Sophia, are you... Please, Daniel, keep this between us, at least for now. Daniel, always the most level-headed of the Thompson brothers, promised to keep the secret, but insisted she shouldn't wait too long to tell Michael the truth. The next morning, Sophia boarded a flight to Chicago, leaving behind not just New York City, but also a lifetime of shared dreams and future plans. The apartment she rented was small, in a middle-class neighborhood on Chicago's west side. Nothing compared to the luxurious penthouse she had shared with Michael, but it would be enough to start over. Her first day at the new company was harder than she expected. Intense morning sickness made her late, and her new boss, Robert Anderson, didn't seem the most understanding. Ms. Coleman, I understand you're new to the city, but punctuality is essential here, he warned, not even looking directly at her. Sophia Coleman swallowed the urge to explain her condition. She wasn't ready yet to share her pregnancy, fearing it might harm her position at the company. The weeks passed by. Sophia devoted herself to work, despite the challenges of her advancing pregnancy. At her first obstetrician appointment in Chicago, she received news that left her breathless. Congratulations, Mrs. Coleman. You're expecting triplets. Sophia didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Triplets. How would she care? For 3 babies alone in a new city, with a job still unstable. Meanwhile, in New York City, Michael Thompson was drowning in remorse and regret. After discovering the truth about the messages and the surprise party Sophia had planned, he desperately tried to find her. Calls, messages, even visits to her, friends and family's homes, nothing. You should hire a private investigator, his friend Matthew suggested during a business lunch. If she doesn't want to be found, maybe you need professional help. Michael considered the idea, but before he could act, his mother interfered once again. Son, sometimes things happen for a reason, Barbara said during dinner at her penthouse. Maybe Sophia wasn't really the right woman for you. Mom, please, it was all a misunderstanding and I kicked her out without even letting her explain. Michael ran his hands through his hair in despair. You knew about the surprise, didn't you? Why didn't you tell me? Barbara averted her gaze, uncomfortable with the direct question. I wasn't sure what was happening. I thought she might be lying to me too. It was a lie, of course. Barbara knew exactly what Sophia had planned. In fact, she had even helped with some preparations, just to maintain control over the situation. She never imagined things would turn out so perfectly in her favor. I'm hiring the investigator, Michael decided, ignoring his mother's veiled protests. I need to find her, I need to apologize. What Michael didn't know was that Barbara would act behind his back. As soon as he left dinner, she made a call. Brian, it's Barbara Thompson, I need a favor. In Chicago, Sophia's belly grew visibly. By 5 months pregnant, hiding her condition at work became impossible. Surprisingly, her boss, Robert, who had once seemed so inflexible, turned out to be understanding. Why didn't you tell me sooner? He asked after Sophia finally revealed she was expecting triplets. We could have adjusted your schedule, lightened your project load. That's exactly why. I didn't want special treatment or for anyone to think I couldn't handle my responsibilities, Sophia explained, relieved by his positive reaction. What she didn't expect was for Robert to make a proposal that would completely change her plans. I have a client, Catherine Reynolds, who wants to renovate the decor for a chain of children's stores. I think you'd be perfect for this project, especially now. The project with Catherine was an immediate success. The businesswoman, a middle-aged woman with an empire of children's stores across the United States, was charmed not only by Sophia's talent, but also by her personal story. 3 babies and no father around? Catherine shook her head, admiring the young designer's courage. You're a warrior, you know that? An unexpected friendship blossomed between the two women. Catherine, who had never had children, saw in Sophia the daughter she never had, and Sophia found in Catherine the maternal support she so desperately needed at that moment. As her pregnancy progressed, Sophia faced ever greater challenges. Her small apartment seemed less and less suitable for 3 newborns. Her salary, though good, wouldn't be enough for all the expenses to come. And the loneliness, sometimes, it was crushing. In her most vulnerable moments, Sophia caught herself thinking about Michael. Had he really tried to find her? Was he suffering in her absence, or had he already moved on? And more importantly, did he even have the right to know about the children about to be born? Daniel, the only one who kept sporadic contact with Sophia, brought news that only added to her confusion. He hired a detective, Sophia. He's desperate to find you. Sophia felt her heart tighten. Part of her wanted to be found, wanted Michael to know about the babies, wanted to believe they could fix everything. But another part, more cautious and wounded, feared reliving the pain of that night. Don't tell him where I am, Daniel, not yet. When the babies are born, maybe then I'll be ready. What Sophia didn't know was that her words were in vain. The detective Michael had hired had already discovered her whereabouts in Chicago, but under Barbara's influence, who paid a considerable sum for silence, the man delivered a false report to Michael. I regret to inform you, Mr. Thompson, but your wife has left the country. I have information that she's in Europe, likely the United Kingdom, with a new partner. Michael felt as if the ground had opened beneath him. Sophia, his Sophia, hadn't just left him but was already with another man. Had she rebuilt her life so quickly, while he was still consumed by guilt and longing? Thank you for your work, Michael said, handing over an envelope with the final payment to the detective, who avoided meeting his eyes. Consider the case closed. That night, Michael drank himself into oblivion. In the days that followed, he threw himself into work, trying to drown the pain of his final loss. His company, a mid-sized construction firm specializing in commercial projects, became his sole concern. But without Sophia's strategic vision, which had always guided him in business, Michael began making rash decisions, risky investments, questionable partnerships, overly rapid expansion. The results weren't long in coming. The company began accumulating debt. Meanwhile, in her 8th month of pregnancy, Sophia received a surprising proposal from Catherine. Your designs for the stores have been so successful that I thought, why not an exclusive line of children's clothing and accessories? Catherine proposed over lunch. You'd be the creative director and I'd handle the financial and operational side. Sophia looked at Catherine with tear-filled eyes. Catherine, I don't even know what to say. I'm about to have 3 babies. How can I manage a new product line? And I have the resources to help on both fronts. Catherine smiled, taking Sophia's hands in hers. Think about it. You'll have flexible hours, you can work from home when needed, and we'll be able to hire nannies and assistants. The offer was too perfect to refuse. A partnership with Catherine would mean financial stability for Sophia and her children, along with the chance to do what she loved. The following week, Sophia gave birth to triplets, Ethan, Nathan, and Benjamin. 3 identical boys, with Michael's blue eyes and blonde hair. The delivery was difficult, but Catherine stayed by her side the entire time, filling the role that should have been Michael's. When the babies turned 2 months old, Sophia and Catherine launched 3 Lives, a children's clothing and accessories brand inspired by the triplets. Success was immediate. Mothers loved the practical yet stylish pieces, designed by someone who understood their real needs. Sophia divided her time between the babies and the company, which grew astonishingly fast. Little by little, 3 Lives opened its own stores, first in Chicago, then in other major cities across the United States. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us newcomers a lot. Now continuing. In New York City, Michael Thompson's situation was deteriorating. His construction company was on the verge of bankruptcy, his apartment had been mortgaged to cover debts, and even his relationship with his mother was strained. After Michael discovered that Barbara had interfered in several of his business deals, always with disastrous results. "You ruined everything, Mom. My marriage, my company, my life," Michael shouted during a particularly heated argument. Barbara, unsure how to handle her son's anger, resorted to an even bigger lie. "I only tried to protect you. Sophia never truly loved you. Did you know she was cheating on you from the start of your marriage? I have proof." "What proof?" Michael challenged, tired of his mother's manipulations. "Letters. I found letters she wrote to another man. I kept them to protect you, but I see now it's time for the truth." Michael knew he should be suspicious. His mother had lied so many times before, but the pain of abandonment, worsened by the detective's report, left him vulnerable to yet another manipulation. 5 years had passed since that fateful night, when Sophia left New York City. The triplets had grown up healthy and happy, never knowing their father. The brand 3 Lives had become one of the most important in the children's market in the United States, with stores in every major city and plans for international expansion. Sophia, now a respected and successful entrepreneur, rarely thought about returning to New York. Her life was settled in Chicago, her children were happy, her business was thriving. But fate had other plans. One seemingly ordinary morning, Ethan, the quietest of the triplets, fainted during breakfast. At the hospital, after a series of tests, the diagnosis left Sophia devastated. Sickle cell anemia, a rare genetic condition that would require a bone marrow transplant. Compatibility between siblings is high, especially in identical triplets, explained the doctor, Dr. Mitchell. "We'll test Nathan and Benjamin immediately." To Sophia's dismay, neither brother was a match for Ethan, a rarity in identical triplets, explained by a specific mutation in Ethan's case. "Mrs. Coleman, we need to test the child's father," Dr. Mitchell suggested. "Paternal compatibility may be the solution here." Sophia felt the world spin. After 5 years of keeping Michael out of the boys' lives, she now needed him. Not only would she have to find him, but she would also have to reveal the existence of the children she had kept secret. With a heavy heart, Sophia made the call she had avoided for so long. "Daniel, it's Sophia. I need to speak with Michael. It's urgent. It's about our children." On the other end of the line, Daniel was silent for a few seconds before responding. His voice choked. "Sophia, a lot has happened here, Michael. He's not doing well. The company went under. He lost almost everything. And when I say he's not doing well, it's not just financially." "What do you mean?" "He's been drinking heavily. He's isolated himself from everyone. Not even his mother can get him to leave the house." Sophia felt a pang of guilt. Despite everything, she had never wanted Michael to suffer like this. "Daniel, one of the boys is sick. We need Michael for a possible bone marrow transplant. Please, help me." Daniel promised to prepare his brother for the news, and 2 days later, confirmed that Michael had agreed to take the compatibility test. But there was one condition. He wanted to meet the children first. Sophia hesitated. Was she ready for this reunion? Were the boys prepared to meet the father they never knew existed? But Ethan's health was the priority. There was no choice. "We're flying to New York tomorrow," Sophia confirmed, feeling a mix of apprehension and, surprisingly, anticipation. Catherine, always present in crucial moments, offered her private helicopter for the trip. "You all need comfort during this difficult time. And honestly," she smiled with a mischievous glint in her eyes, "I want to see the look on that ex-husband's face when you descend from the sky with 3 mini-clones of him." Sophia couldn't help but laugh, despite the gravity of the situation. Catherine always knew how to ease her tensions. The next morning, Sophia dressed the triplets with care. Ethan, even weakened by his illness, was excited about the idea of riding in a helicopter. Sophia chose an elegant white pantsuit. She wanted to look confident and successful when she reunited with Michael. The helicopter landed on a helipad near Manhattan Beach, causing a stir among passers-by. It wasn't every day you saw a private helicopter disembark 3 identical children, accompanied by an elegant woman. Daniel was waiting for them at the helipad exit, his face a mix of emotion and nervousness. "Sophia, my God, they're..." Daniel stared in awe at the triplets, who were exact copies of his brother as a child. "It's like seeing Michael at 5 years old tripled." Sophia hugged her brother-in-law, genuinely happy to see him again. "Boys, this is Uncle Daniel, your daddy's brother." The triplets, always outgoing, bombarded Daniel with questions about the father they were about to meet as they walked to the car that would take them to Michael. The apartment where Michael now lived was a far cry from the luxurious property in the Upper East Side. A modest 3-bedroom in Brooklyn, furnished simply, almost Spartan. When Sophia rang the doorbell, her heart pounded so loudly she was sure everyone could hear it. The door opened and there he was, Michael Thompson, the man who had once been her entire world. But he was no longer the confident, arrogant executive she had known. This Michael had deep shadows under his eyes, disheveled hair with premature grey streaks, and a defeated expression that broke Sophia's heart. But it was when Michael looked down and saw the 3 identical boys that his world truly stopped. There before him were 3 miniature versions of himself, the same blue eyes, the same blonde hair, the same face shape. My sons?" Michael murmured, falling to his knees, tears streaming down his face. Ethan, always the most sensitive of the 3, stepped forward. "Are you our dad? Why did you never come visit us?" The innocent, direct question hit Michael like a punch. He looked at Sophia, searching for guidance, some clue on how to respond. Sophia knelt beside Michael, positioning herself at the boy's eye level. "Daddy didn't know you existed, my loves. It was a misunderstanding between us." "A misunderstanding I caused," Michael added, finding the strength to speak, "and one I deeply regret." Nathan, always the most practical of the triplets, crossed his arms. "If you're our dad, why did Mom say we came here because Ethan is sick? Are you a doctor?" Michael looked confused at Sophia, who briefly explained Ethan's condition and the need for the compatibility test. "I'll do whatever it takes," Michael promised immediately. "When can we do the test?" "Tomorrow morning," Sophia replied. Dr. Mitchell managed to schedule it at Mount Sinai Hospital. At that moment, they heard the sound of keys at the door. It was Barbara, entering without knocking, as she always did. When she saw Sophia and 3 children identical to her son, the woman froze in the doorway. "What is the meaning of this?" she asked, her face pale as if she'd seen a ghost. "This, Mother," Michael replied, a new determination in his voice, "means you kept me from knowing my sons for 5 years. Sons? What sons? This woman appears out of nowhere after abandoning you, and you believe her." Barbara tried to keep control, but panic was visible in her eyes. Sophia, who had dreamed for years of confronting her ex-mother-in-law, surprised. Everyone with her calm. "Mrs. Barbara, these are your grandsons, Ethan, Nathan, and Benjamin. They're here because Ethan needs a bone marrow transplant, and Michael might be a match." Benjamin, the most observant of the triplets, tugged at his mother's coat sleeve. "Mommy, is that the mean grandma from the stories?" The innocent question created an awkward silence in the room. Michael looked questioningly at Sophia, who blushed. "Sometimes I tell them stories to help them sleep," Sophia explained, avoiding Barbara's gaze. "I might have mentioned a grandmother who was a bit difficult. Barbara looked ready to explode, but Michael raised his hand, silencing her. "Mom, I think it's best if you leave. I need time with my family." The word family hung in the air, heavy with meaning, for the boys who had always known only Sophia and themselves, for Sophia who never thought she'd hear Michael refer to them that way, and for Michael, who had just discovered he had far more to lose and to reclaim than he ever imagined. Barbara stormed out, slamming the door, but no one cared. There were far more important matters at hand. The next few hours were an emotional roller coaster. Michael wanted to know everything about the boys, their likes, their personalities, their favorite stories, their first steps, their first words. Sophia, to her own surprise, willingly shared these memories, realizing just how much Michael had missed. "Why didn't you tell me, Sophia?" Michael asked when the boys were distracted, playing in the makeshift room Daniel had prepared for them. "Why did you hide my sons from me for 5 years?" Sophia sighed, the question she had dreaded finally spoken. "That night when you threw me out without letting me explain, something inside me broke, Michael. The trust, which was the foundation of our relationship, was gone. And when I found out I was pregnant," she paused, choosing her words carefully, "I didn't want you to come back to me out of obligation. I wanted you to come back because you loved and trusted me." "I tried to find you," Michael protested. "I hired a detective." "Who was bribed by your mother to lie?" Daniel added, entering the room with coffee for everyone. "I found out a few months ago when I came across payment receipts between Mom and that so-called detective." Michael looked devastated by this new revelation. "And you didn't tell me, Daniel." "I tried, brother, but you were so deep in your drinking, so convinced Sophia had left you for another man." Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now, back to the story. The next morning, the whole family headed to Mount Sinai Hospital for the compatibility tests. Dr. Mitchell, who had traveled from Chicago specifically for the case, greeted them with optimism. Compatibility between father and son is less common than between siblings, but it's still a real possibility, especially in cases like this, he explained as he prepped Michael for the procedure. While waiting for the results, Michael took the chance to get to know his sons better. Ethan, despite his illness, was curious about everything related to his father, especially his work as a builder. "Do you build buildings like Lego ones?" the boy asked, eyes shining with admiration. "I used to," Michael corrected, a pang of shame in his voice. "The company isn't running anymore." "Why?" Nathan asked, always direct. Michael glanced at Sophia, unsure how much to reveal. "Daddy made some tough business decisions," Sophia said gently. "But he's very talented and I'm sure he'll bounce back." The look of gratitude Michael gave Sophia didn't go unnoticed by Daniel, who smiled to himself. After what felt like an eternity, Dr. Mitchell returned with the preliminary results. His serious expression worried everyone. "I have 2 pieces of news," he announced. "The first is that yes, Mr. Thompson, you are a match for Ethan. We can proceed with the transplant." A collective sigh of relief filled the room. "And the second piece of news?" asked Sophia, noticing the doctor's hesitation. "Mr. Thompson, during the tests, we detected a condition you likely weren't aware of. You have the same genetic variant that caused Ethan's sickle cell anemia." Michael furrowed his brow, confused. "What does that mean, doctor?" "It means you carry the recessive gene. In most cases, carriers don't develop the disease, they only pass it on. But in rare instances like yours, mild symptoms can appear throughout life." Dr. Mitchell checked his notes. "Have you ever experienced extreme fatigue, joint pain, or unexplained breathing difficulties?" Michael exchanged a surprised glance. "With Sophia?" "My whole life. I've always had these sudden bouts of weakness, especially during stressful times. Doctors never found the cause. Those could have been mild sickle cell crises. In your case, the condition seems well controlled by your body, but it still requires monitoring." Sophia couldn't help but think of all the times Michael had fainted during their marriage, always after intense arguments or periods of overwork. She had always attributed those episodes to stress or low blood pressure. She never imagined it. "I could be genetic." Did my mother know about this? Michael asked, another piece of the puzzle clicking into place. I can't say for certain, Dr. Mitchell replied cautiously. But if these symptoms have been present since childhood, it's likely she did. Barbara, Sophia, and Michael thought simultaneously. Barbara, who had always been overprotective of her son. Barbara, who meddled in every aspect of Michael's life, from business to marriage. Barbara, who justified everything by saying, Michael is fragile and needs special care. She knew, Michael said with bitter certainty, and she hid it from me my entire life. The revelation about Michael's condition changed the treatment plan. Now, not only would Ethan receive care, but Michael would also undergo a full evaluation. Dr. Mitchell recommended transferring both to Chicago, where there was a specialized center for hematological diseases. The transplant can be performed there, and Mr. Thompson can begin his own treatment simultaneously, the doctor explained. To Sophia's surprise, Michael agreed immediately. There's nothing keeping me in New York now, he said, giving her a meaningful look. And I want to be close to my children. The night before leaving for Chicago, while the boys slept in the makeshift bedroom, Michael and Sophia finally had the conversation that should have happened 5 years earlier. There was never another man, Michael, Sophia began, sitting on the small apartment balcony. The messages were from Daniel about the surprise party we were planning for you, a vow renewal. I know that now. Michael covered his face with his hands. I was a proud fool, and I paid the highest price. I lost 5 years of my children's lives. And I paid the price of pride, too, Sophia admitted. I could have insisted, could have come back and explained, but I was so hurt. And you built an incredible life without me, Michael observed, with a mix of admiration and sadness. I saw the feature about your company in Entrepreneurs magazine. 3 lives. The name makes more sense now. Sophia smiled, surprised. Michael had seen the article. Daniel showed me, he explained, guessing her thoughts. That's when I discovered you hadn't gone to Europe with another man, as the detective claimed. I confronted my mother, but she denied everything. Of course. Your mother, Sophia hesitated, not wanting to reopen old wounds. Your mother never liked me, Michael, from the very first day. My mother would never like any woman who took me away from her, Michael admitted bitterly, and now I know why. She knew about my condition, knew I could have episodes if I got too stressed. She used that to control me my whole life, to keep me dependent on her. A reflective silence fell between them. So many misunderstandings, so much manipulation, so much lost time. What happened to the construction company? Sophia asked, genuinely interested. Daniel mentioned financial troubles. Michael let out a deep sigh. After you left, I threw myself into work. I wanted to expand, grow quickly, maybe to prove I could succeed without you. He paused, recalling his disastrous decisions. Mom suggested an accountant she trusted. Emphasis on she. The man embezzled millions before we noticed. By the time I found out, it was too late. Sophia felt a pang of compassion. The arrogant, confident Michael she had known had been replaced by a broken man, betrayed by his own mother, deprived of his family. As much as she had suffered because of his actions, she couldn't help but empathize. You know, Catherine always says there are no coincidences, only encounters meant to be, Sophia remarked, gazing at the stars dotting the New York City sky. Maybe all this had to happen for us to get where we are now. And where are we? Michael asked, his eyes fixed on Sophia's profile against the night sky. She turned to face him, the question hanging between them like an unspoken promise. We're at a new beginning, Michael. For Ethan's sake, for the other boys, and then maybe for us too. The next morning, Catherine's helicopter took them all to Chicago. Sophia watched as New York City faded behind them, Hudson Bay shrinking in the distance, and she felt a chapter closing. 5 years ago, she had left New York alone, pregnant and heartbroken. Now she was returning to Chicago with her 3 sons, and the man who, despite everything, still held a place in her heart. In Chicago, Catherine arranged a suite at Northwestern Memorial Hospital, where Ethan and Michael would be treated by the best medical team in the country. Ever practical, Catherine also secured an apartment near the hospital for Michael. "You need privacy and convenience," Catherine explained when Sophia protested, insisting Michael could stay at a hotel. "I'm not suggesting you move back in together, just making it easier to visit the boys." The transplant was scheduled for 2 weeks later, the time needed to prepare both Ethan and Michael. During that period, the other triplets, Nathan and Benjamin, were introduced to their father's routine. They visited the hospital in the morning, spent the day between Michael's apartment and Sophia's house, and slept with their mother. Determined to earn back his children's trust, Michael made an effort to be actively involved in their lives, even with his medical preparations limiting him. He learned about their interests, helped with homework, and told bedtime stories. For children who had never had a present father, every small gesture was a wondrous discovery. "Mom, why don't you and Dad live together like our friends' parents?" Nathan asked one night, as Sophia tucked them into bed. The question caught her off guard. How could she explain the complexity of adult relationships to a 5-year-old? "Sometimes, sweetheart, grown-ups need time to work through their problems," she answered, choosing her words carefully. "Your father and I had a big disagreement before you were born, and we're only just starting to talk again." "But do you still like each other?" insisted Benjamin, always attuned to the emotions of adults. Sophia felt her face flush. "We'll always care about each other, because the 3 of you are the most important thing to both of us," Sophia deflected diplomatically. But the truth, which Sophia admitted only to herself in the quietest hours of the night, was that her feelings for Michael had never completely disappeared. They were dormant, buried under layers of hurt and mistrust, but still alive. And now, seeing him with their children, watching his determination to save Ethan even at the cost of his own fragile health, those feelings resurfaced with unexpected strength. The day of the transplant arrived. Ethan, despite his young age, showed surprising courage. "I'll be better soon, Mum," he promised, squeezing Sophia's hand as he was prepped for the procedure. "And then we can all live together, like a real family." The procedure lasted hours. Sophia, Michael, Catherine, and Daniel took turns in the waiting room, making sure Nathan and Benjamin stayed distracted and comfortable. When Dr. Mitchell finally appeared, his tired smile said it all before he even spoke. "Both are doing well." The transplant was a success. The following days were a slow recovery. Michael, weakened by the bone marrow donation, still insisted on visiting Ethan daily in the isolation room. The two developed a ritual. They played cards through the glass, talking on intercoms, telling each other stories. It was during one of these sessions that Michael made an unexpected discovery. While waiting for Ethan to pick his next card, he noticed a notebook on the table beside his son's bed. Mom's diary was written on the cover in elegant handwriting he recognized immediately. "What's that notebook, son?" Michael asked, pointing to the diary. "Mom lent it to me so I wouldn't feel alone," Ethan explained innocently. "It's the diary she wrote when she was expecting us. It has stories from when we were still babies in her belly." Michael felt a lump in his throat. That notebook held memories of a time he had completely missed: Sophia's pregnancy, the boy's birth, their first days of life. Can I take a look?" Michael asked hesitantly. Ethan nodded, pushing the notebook toward the glass so his father could see better. "Mom said there are no secrets. It's just stories about us." With trembling hands, Michael began reading the first pages of the diary. Sophia had started writing the day after that fateful night when she left New York. October 10th, New York, Chicago. "I left everything behind today. My home, my dreams, my plans for the future. And all I carry with me are a few clothes, some documents, and this little miracle growing inside me. A baby. Our baby, Michael. How do I tell you now after what happened, after the accusations, the distrust? You didn't even give me a chance to explain about the messages, about the surprise I'd been planning for months. Maybe it's better this way. If you didn't trust me after 3 years together, why would you now? You'd think it was a trap, a trick to force you to stay with me. Barbara would certainly say so. And maybe you'd believe her like you always did. So I'll go on alone for now, until I find the strength to tell the truth, until I'm sure you deserve to be part of this child's life." Michael turned the page, silent tears running. down his face. October 24th, Chicago. First appointment with the obstetrician today. And the surprise that nearly made me faint in the office. It's not one baby, it's 3 triplets. How am I going to take care of 3 babies alone in a new city with a job that's barely started? I thought of you right away, Michael. What would your face look like if you found out you were going to be a father to triplets? You always talked about having a big family, though I suspected that was more your mother's wish than yours. Funny how now, in the loneliest and scariest moment of my life, I still think about sharing the news with you. I still imagine what it would be like if we were together, planning the baby's room, picking out names. Daniel called today, said you've been looking for me. Part of me wants to answer the next call, to tell you everything. But another part, more cautious, more hurt, hesitates. What if you want the babies but not me? What if your mother turns this into a legal battle? No, it's not the time yet. I need to grow stronger first to build a safe home for our children. The entries continued, detailing every ultrasound, every movement of the babies, every preparation for their birth. Sophia had recorded it all, her hopes, her fears, her loneliness, and on every page, Michael noticed, there were mentions of him. Doubts about whether she should contact him, reflections on what kind of father he'd be, even an internal debate about the names she'd chosen. June 7th, New York Presbyterian Hospital, Chicago. They're here. My little warriors are born. Healthy and perfect. Ethan, Nathan, and Benjamin. Strong names for strong boys, just like you always said you'd want, Michael. Ethan has your stubborn chin. Nathan, your curious eyes. And Benjamin, oh, Benjamin has your smile, the one that won me over on the very first day. 3 little versions of you, as if nature wanted to make sure that, even absent, you'd still be present in my life through them. Catherine took pictures. I keep each one in a special box. Maybe one day when the boys are older and ask about their father, I can show them. Maybe one day you'll see them yourself. For now, I tell myself I made the right choice. I protected my children from rejection, from doubt, from the family drama your mother would surely create. But on nights like this, while the 3 of them sleep in their cribs beside me, I can't help but wonder, what if? What if I had pushed harder? What if you had listened? Would we be here together marveling at these 3 miracles we made? Michael closed the journal, unable to keep reading through the tears blurring his vision. 5 years of lost memories, 5 years of moments he'd never get back. All because of a misunderstanding, wounded pride, manipulations, and lies. Ethan watched his father curiously, not fully understanding his reaction. "Daddy, are you sad?" Michael quickly wiped his eyes, forcing a smile. "No, son, I'm happy. Happy to finally know you and your brothers, and so proud of your mother, who was so strong for all of you." That evening, when Sophia came to visit Ethan after her shift at the company, she found Michael waiting for her in the hospital hallway. His red eyes told her he'd been crying. "I read the journal," he admitted without preamble. Sophia felt her heart race. That journal held her most private thoughts, her deepest vulnerabilities during the hardest moments of her life. "Ethan showed me," Michael continued. "I shouldn't have read it without your permission, but—" "It's okay," Sophia interrupted softly. "There's nothing in there you couldn't know." Michael took a step forward, closing the distance between them. "Sophia, I ruined everything. Not just that night, but every day after when. I let my pride and my mother's manipulations keep me from seeking the truth." His voice broke. "I missed the first years of my children's lives. I lost you, and even now I don't know if I have the right to ask for another chance." Sophia studied the man in front of her. He was no longer the arrogant Michael she had known, who made rash decisions driven by pride. This man was broken, humble, genuinely remorseful. "We don't always get what we deserve, Michael," she finally said. "Sometimes we get more. Sometimes we get less. What matters is what we do with what we're given now." "And what do we have now?" he asked, echoing the question he'd posed days earlier on the balcony of their New York City apartment. "We have 3 wonderful boys who need both their parents. We have a fresh start if we want it." Sophia paused, weighing her next words. and we have feelings that, despite everything, never completely disappeared. Michael's face lit up with cautious hope. You still... It's not that simple, Michael, Sophia gently interrupted. There's too much between us. Hurt, distrust, 5 years of separate lives. We can't just go back to what we were. I don't want to go back to what we were, Michael said with surprising firmness. I want to build something new, something better. Something based on truth and trust, not manipulation and secrets. Sophia was moved by the sincerity in his voice. This was a Michael she had never known, vulnerable, honest, willing to acknowledge his mistakes. One step at a time, she proposed, offering a small smile. Starting with being good parents to our children. And partners, Michael ventured. Not necessarily romantic, not yet, but partners in raising the boys? In life? Sophia thought for a moment. The idea of Michael being part of the boys' daily lives, school meetings, birthdays, family dinners, was something she had secretly always wanted, even in her most bitter moments. Partners, she agreed, extending her hand. Michael took her hand, but instead of a formal handshake, he brought it to his lips in a gesture of respect and gratitude that made Sophia's heart race, just like in their early days of dating. The following weeks were a period of adjustment for everyone. Ethan recovered quickly, surpassing medical expectations. Michael, following treatment for his own condition, regained color and energy. And the 5 of them, as a family rebuilding itself, established new routines. Michael rented an apartment near Sophia's home so he could be present in his children's lives daily. More surprisingly, he accepted Catherine's offer to work as a consultant for the real estate expansion of 3 Lives, which was now planning standalone stores in malls across the United States. It can be temporary, Sophia explained, when Michael expressed concern about seeming opportunistic. Until you decide what you want to do professionally. Catherine really needs someone with your construction experience. Deep down, Sophia knew Catherine's offer was more than just business. It was a way to keep Michael close, to observe him, to assess his true intentions toward her and the boys. Catherine, who had become something of a surrogate mother to Sophia, was fiercely protective. At first, Michael remained strictly professional at work and focused solely on the children in his personal life. He respected Sophia's space, never visiting her home without an explicit invitation, never forcing conversations about their past or future. But over time, their daily proximity began to dissolve the barriers. Work meetings stretched into dinners. Sunday outings with the boys ended with Sophia and Michael talking on the porch after the children went to bed. Painful memories gradually gave way to new, happier ones. 6 months after the successful transplant, the family held a small celebration at Sophia's home. Ethan, fully recovered, ran and played with his brothers as if he had never been sick. Michael, healthier and more at peace than he had ever been, watched his children with overflowing pride. "Congratulations," said Catherine, joining him in observing the kids, "for your son and for your own recovery." "Thank you," Michael replied. "Sincerely. For everything. For taking care of Sophia and the boys when I couldn't. For giving me a professional chance when I was at rock bottom. For not hating me despite everything." Catherine laughed, a surprisingly cheerful sound for a woman of her age and stature. "Oh, I hated you for a good while, Michael Thompson. Believe me." Her face grew more serious. "But I saw how you dedicated yourself to Ethan, how you've been trying with the other boys. And most importantly, I saw how you look at Sophia when you think no one's watching." Michael felt his face grow warm. "Am I that obvious?" "Like an open book," Catherine confirmed, amused. "The question is, what do you plan to do about it?" Before Michael could answer, Sophia approached, carrying a homemade cake. "What are you two conspiring about here?" she asked, noticing their knowing smiles. "Just making a bet on how long it'll take for you to agree to have dinner with me," Michael replied with a boldness that surprised even himself. "Just the 2 of us. No boys, no work meetings, no past, just a man and a woman starting fresh." Sophia nearly dropped the cake, catching it at the last moment. Catherine deftly took the dessert from her trembling hands, excusing herself with a murmured excuse about finding candles. "Michael," Sophia began, unsure how to respond to the unexpected proposal. "I know I promised to take it slow, one step at a time," he interrupted, seizing her moment of hesitation. "And I've respected that. But Sophia, the truth is I never stopped loving you. Not in the darkest moments, not when I believed the worst lies." Michael took her hands in his. "I understand if you don't feel the same. If what happened destroyed what we had. I just ask for a chance to show you the man I've become, the man I want to be for you and our children." Sophia felt a long, suppressed emotion rise in her throat. 5 years of carefully built defenses, walls erected to protect her heart, threatened to crumble at those simple words. "I'm scared," she finally admitted. "Scared to trust again, to get hurt again. Scared for the boys who adore you now and would be devastated if something went wrong between us." "I'm scared too," Michael confessed. "Scared I don't deserve this second chance. Scared I won't be the father and the man you all deserve. But I've learned that living in fear is worse than facing it." He smiled faintly. "One dinner, Sophia, no commitments, no promises. Just one night for us." Sophia looked at her children, happy and whole for the first time with their father's presence. She looked at Catherine, who watched from afar, with an approving smile. And finally, she looked at Michael, the man who had broken her heart and who, against all odds, was finding his way back. "One dinner," she finally agreed. "But you picked the place." The dinner turned into 2, then 3, then regular meetings that rekindled what had never been fully extinguished. Cautious at first, avoiding sensitive topics, Sophia and Michael gradually rebuilt their intimacy, now based on honesty and communication. Barbara, to everyone's surprise, came forward remorseful after a serious health crisis. Confronted with her own fragility, she finally admitted her manipulations and asked Michael and Sophia for forgiveness, though the relationship remained cautious. The triplets gradually gained a grandmother, albeit under strict parental supervision. A year after Michael's return to Sophia's and the boys' lives, the family faced an important decision. 3 Lives was expanding internationally, starting with Canada. As the director of expansion, Michael would need to spend periods in Boston. As CEO, Sophia would also need to make frequent visits. "We could take turns," Sophia suggested during a strategic meeting. "I'll go 1 month, you the next. Or we could go together," Michael proposed, "as a family." The word family hung in the air, heavy with meaning. After months of cautious reconnection, rebuilding trust and rediscovered romance, that simple suggestion represented far more than a logistical solution. "Are you proposing?" "I'm proposing we make official what's already been real for months, Sophia," Michael replied softly. "We're a family. We love our children, we love each other. Why stay divided by a past we've both moved beyond?" That evening, after the boys had fallen asleep, Sophia and Michael sat on her porch, as they had so many times in recent months. "The boys keep asking why we don't all live together," Sophia remarked, gazing at the stars. "Especially now that you spend more nights here than at your own apartment." "And what do you tell them?" Michael asked. "That adults are complicated." Sophia laughed gently. "But the truth is, I don't have an answer that makes sense anymore. Not for them and not for myself." Michael took her hand, bringing it to his lips in a gesture that had become familiar and cherished. "Then let me simplify things. Sophia Coleman, will you start over with me, officially? As husband and wife, parents to our wonderful boys, partners in life and business?" Sophia felt her eyes well up. The fear she'd carried for so long of trusting, of being hurt again, had gradually been replaced by the certainty that this Michael, wiser and more aware, was the man she truly wanted to build a life with. "Yes," she answered simply, "but no big wedding this time, just us and our children." "And Catherine," Michael added, smiling. "She'd never forgive us if we left her out." "And Daniel," Sophia finished. "He stayed in touch when no one else did. He deserves to witness the happy ending he helped create." On the triplets' 6th birthday, in an intimate ceremony in the garden of their new family home in Chicago, Sophia and Michael renewed their vows. Ethan, Nathan, and Benjamin, dressed in matching suits, carried the rings, while Catherine and Daniel watched, moved. 6 years ago, a series of misunderstandings and manipulations tore us apart. Michael began, holding Sophia's hands before the officiant. "Today, thanks to your strength in raising our children alone, your generosity in letting me return, and the love that never fully died, we're here, starting over the right way. 6 years ago, I left New York City with a broken heart and an uncertain future," Sophia replied, tears of happiness flowing freely. "Today, I become your wife again, with 3 incredible gifts who built a bridge between our hearts, even when we seemed hopelessly apart." As they exchanged rings, the triplets clapped enthusiastically, not fully grasping the depth of the moment, but instinctively sensing its importance. After the ceremony, during the small garden reception, Catherine pulled Sophia aside. "When you first came to Chicago pregnant and heartbroken, I never imagined we'd one day celebrate this," the entrepreneur admitted, emotional. "You've built something extraordinary, Sophia. Not just 3 lives, but a real life, rooted in strength, forgiveness, and genuine love." "I couldn't have done it without you, Catherine," Sophia replied, embracing her mentor and friend. "You gave me more than business opportunities. You gave me confidence when I needed it most." On the makeshift dance floor, Michael twirled with each of his 3 children, one at a time, while the others waited impatiently for their turn. Sophia watched the scene with her heart overflowing with happiness. The journey had been long and difficult, with more pain than anyone should have to bear. But as she looked at her reunited family, at the man who had found redemption, and at the children who were the best of both of them, she knew every tear had been worth it. The helicopter that once brought Sophia and the triplets back into Michael's life remained parked in the field behind the house, no longer a symbol of separation and triumphant return, but a reminder that sometimes you need altitude to see the full panorama of life, with its mistakes, triumphs, and above all, its second chances. The end of the story. Dear listener, did this story of overcoming and reunion touch your heart? Did you relate to Sophia, or know someone who's been through something similar? Leave a comment sharing your thoughts and where you're watching from. Don't forget to like and, most importantly, subscribe to the channel for more heartwarming stories like this one.